Hi, my name is Erica, and this is Carolyn, and we work at the University of Hawaii's Institute for Astronomy in Manoa. Welcome to our show, Star Smarts.
Greetings from the Institute for Astronomy in Hilo, Erica. February is Valentine's month, and what does that have to do with the stars? When you look up at the stars, what do you think of?
Aliens? Spaceships? Raccoons?
Yes, maybe, but a long time ago, before there were sci-fi movies, people used their imaginations when they looked at the stars, and they made up pictures and stories up in their minds. There are lots of stories or myths in every culture about those pictures, which we call constellations today. And in recognition of Valentine's Day, we decided to talk a little bit about love in the stars.
When I look at those sparkling lights in the night sky, I think about diamonds. Now, the brightest star in the sky, called Sirius, kind of looks like a diamond itself, and it's in the evening sky right now. It belongs to a group of stars called Canis Major, or the Big Dog. Look for Sirius as the dog's collar. And right above this are two stars that mark the dog's ears. And below are two stars that form the dog's front paws. The body of the dog is marked off by more stars ending up in the hind legs and tail.
That's right, Erica, although I see Sirius as the dog's nose, but regardless, it's hard to miss that bright star. Canis Major is the hunting dog of another easy to find constellation called Orion the Hunter. Orion is easily spotted by first looking for those three stars all in a row that make up the famous belt of Orion. These three stars are also known as the three canoe paddlers in Polynesia. See how the belt divides the top half of the hunter with the two bright stars at his shoulder from the two bright stars at his feet.
And if you look a little bit to the lower left of Orion, there's two bright stars that make up the little dog, or Canis Minor. I like to imagine this one's a little chihuahua.
So what do those three constellations have to do with love?
Well, a dog loves his master, right? There are many examples of love stories in the sky, but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about those bright, sparkling stars that make up those constellations. You probably know that all the stars you see in the sky, including our own star, the Sun, belong to a great collection of billions of stars called the Milky Way galaxy. When we look at those constellations, most of those stars in a pattern are not really related to each other, but in reality are separated by vast distances.
Well, here's something to help illustrate this. Erica has constructed the constellation of Orion with some Play-Doh and sticks. You can do this for yourself at home by using aluminum foil instead of Play-Doh. When we look at the stars from the top, the stars look like they're all on one surface. This is the way we see it on Earth. But when you see the group at other angles, you can see that they're not the same distance from your eyes. So all the stars and constellations look entirely different if we were to go far out to different parts of the galaxy, if we only could.
Every star you see in the sky with your own eyes is only the closest stars in our galaxy. That's why we need telescopes, because there's so many more we can discover out there. Now, that bright star in Canis Major, the star called Sirius, the one we were speaking about earlier, is bright because it's one of the closest stars to us, about 8.5 light years away.
So how far is that? A light year is a distance light can travel in 1 year, or about 6 trillion miles. We think of light as instantaneous, like when we turn on the switch at home. But it takes light about 8 minutes to travel from the nearest star, our sun, 93 million miles away, to our planet. The nearest star is called Proxima Centauri, and that's over 25 trillion miles away. And light still takes over 4 years to span that distance. So space is really big. Mostly all the stars in our galaxy are separated by billions, if not trillions of miles.
But here on Earth, we see all those stars like they were pasted on the sky above us. Now, throughout our history, people looked at those stars and made up stories about those patterns they saw. The people of early Asia, for example, created a story that they saw in the summer sky where two lovers are separated by a river of stars. Now, once a year, on the seventh day of the seventh month, the two are reunited on the day the Japanese call Tanabata.
But here in modern days, we can't stop thinking about romance. Here's an image of a nebula in deep space called the Heart Nebula. A nebula is a region of gas and dust in space. It's kind of like a big cloud in outer space. In the Heart Nebula lies a cluster of stars that makes this nebula glow red. You won't be able to see this nebula with your eyes, though. It lies over 7,500 light years away and is much too dim to see without a telescope.
Wow, that is a super cool nebula. If any of you at home are interested in seeing a nebula only with your eyes, try looking at the dagger of Orion. Right in the middle is a fuzzy looking star, not as point like as its neighbors. That's the Great Orion Nebula. Now, these nebula have such interesting colors. If you look at the pictures, sometimes you'll see pink or red, or sometimes a little bit of blue. These colors kind of remind me about how there's different star colors out there, too. You know, a star's color tells us about how hot it is. It turns out the coolest stars are red and the hottest stars are blue. White stars have temperatures somewhere in the middle. It kind of reminds me of those little heart candies of different colors, except now imagine them scattered across the sky. Here's what you can do at home if you want to explore the night sky. Look for star charts like this. And also see if you can observe the different colors of stars in the sky.
Looking at stars are also like looking back into time. Since most stars are more than 8 light years away, stars can mark historical events here on Earth, too. For instance, do you remember what happened when light left the star Sirius about 8 years ago? Well, maybe you're almost 9. That would mean the light you see tonight left around the same time you were born. Here's a list of the brightest stars you might be able to connect with historical events. Keep in mind, though, that the closest and the brightest stars are not the same. Even though a star may be very bright in the sky, it could be hundreds of light years away, more distant than many events in human history.
We hope we've inspired you to see the stars in the night sky in different ways. Take your star charts outside and see if you can recognize some of the constellations and the different colors and brightnesses of the stars. And remember that even though some stars are bigger and brighter than others, it doesn't mean they're closer or further away.
On a final note, even if you don't have a telescope, remember that looking at the stars can still be a special experience.
Some of the light you look at when you gaze at those twinkling diamonds in the sky are over hundreds, sometimes thousands of years old. This means it traveled a long time, a vast distance, over trillions of miles, which is quite a road trip, just to land into your eyes that night. Sounds romantic, right? We think so too. Whether it's Valentine's Day or not, we urge you to go outside and look up at the night sky for yourself. We guarantee you'll be filled with the wonder at the romance of our universe.